Today, we are diving into one of the most, stunning moments of betrayal in the entire book of Exodus. It's a powerful story about what happens when a leader vanishes, an entire nation's patience just snaps, and a golden idol gets built, literally in the shadow of God's holy mountain. Let's jump in.
Make us gods. Can you even imagine hearing those words? It's just a shocking demand, especially coming from a people who had just been miraculously saved. Now, to get the full weight of this, we have to understand what was happening at this exact same moment, just a little further up the mountain.
So, while this nation is waiting, kind of nervously, at the bottom of a mountain, their leader, Moses, is way up at the summit. He's shrouded in clouds, in the actual presence of God. And this isn't some casual meeting, A sacred covenant, a foundational agreement between God and his people, is being laid out right there on Mount Sinai.
And Moses is up there for a long, long time, 40 days and 40 nights. Just think about that for a second. That's over a month with zero communication, no word, no sign of their leader. Down in the camp, waiting is hard. Patience starts to wear really thin, and that long, heavy silence creates a kind of vacuum, one that the people are about to fill.
And get this. This wasn't just Moses taking dictation. The Bible describes the Ten Commandments, the very heart of this covenant, as being written with the very finger of God. It's personal, it's direct, it's a divine act. And when you realize just how sacred this moment is, it makes the rebellion that's brewing down below all the more heartbreaking. So, while God is literally engraving his law into stone, his people below are taking matters into their own hands. Down in the camp, that impatience has curdled into panic, and that panic is about to give way to a profound, jaw-dropping act of faithlessness. And look, this didn't just happen by accident. It was a deliberate, step-by-step process. First, they gather up their most valuable things, all the gold they got from Egypt, and they give it to Aaron, who's Moses' own brother. He melts it down and fashions it into a calf, and from there, it's a quick slide. They declare it their god, build an altar for it, and throw a huge party. They are systematically replacing their unseen god with a shiny one they can see and touch. And this is the cry that rings through the camp. They look at this golden statue and give it the credit for their miraculous escape from slavery. It is a total, head-spinning rejection of the very God who had just saved them, who was, at that very second, giving them a law designed to help them thrive. And here you can just see the two realities, side by side. It's so stark. On one hand, you have God's law. It comes directly from God. It's a holy covenant. It's meant to be permanent, and it represents true freedom. But on the other hand, you have the people's idol. It's made by man. It's born from a corrupt rebellion. It's temporary, and really, it just represents a return to the very bondage they had just escaped. One path leads to life, the other to destruction.
So now, the stage is set for an epic confrontation. God sees all this betrayal from the mountaintop, and the whole narrative shifts from this moment of creation to one of serious consequence. The moment of reckoning has officially arrived. These are the words God speaks to Moses, and there is absolutely no sugarcoating it. The people have completely turned from the path he just laid out for them. God sees the idol, he sees the partying, he sees the rebellion, and his response is one of fierce, righteous anger. He basically tells Moses he's going to wipe them out and start over with him.
So when Moses gets down the mountain and sees the absolute chaos for himself, his own anger just explodes. His reaction is swift, and it's deeply symbolic. First, he shatters the stone tablets. The people already broke the covenant, right? Then he goes after their idol. He systematically destroys it, burns it, grinds it into dust, scatters it on their water supply, and then forces them to drink it. He makes them physically ingest the symbol of their own sin. The consequences are swift and they are brutal. Moses rallies everyone who's still loyal to God, and the sons of Levi go through the camp carrying out judgment. The cost of this rebellion is just stark and devastating. 3,000 people are killed that day. It's a grim, grim reminder of how seriously this was all taken. But in the wake of all this fury and judgment, the story takes a pivot. It shifts from a prophet's righteous wrath to something totally different, a mediator's desperate plea for his people.
So, what even is a mediator? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's someone who stands in that space, that gap between two parties who are at odds. In this story, it's the gap between a holy God and a deeply sinful people. And the mediator's job is to plead for reconciliation, to try and bring them back together. This is the role Moses is about to take on. And what's so fascinating is how Moses argues his case. He doesn't try to say the people are innocent, because they're not. He knows that. Instead, he appeals to God's own character and his own promises. He basically says, hey, remember your covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Israel? Think about your own reputation. He bases his entire plea not on the people's worthiness, but on God's own faithfulness. It's a brilliant move. And, incredibly, it works. The scripture says God repented, or you could say he relented from the disaster he had planned. Moses' intercession, his choice to stand in that gap for his people, literally changed the outcome for the entire nation. It is a stunning display of what a mediator can do. But Moses isn't finished. He goes back up the mountain, back to God. And this is the real climax of his love for his people. He says, please forgive their sin. And then he adds this just astonishing offer. He says, and if not, then blot me out of your book. He is so identified with his rebellious people that he offers to give up his own life, his own salvation, to be erased from God's memory if it means they can be forgiven. That is the ultimate act of a mediator. So, where does that leave us? Well, the story wraps up with this really powerful mix of both consequence and mercy. The rebellion doesn't go unpunished, but the relationship between God and his people isn't totally destroyed either. The text is very clear that justice was served. God did send a plague as a consequence for what they did. And yet, in this incredible act of grace, he tells Moses to cut 2 new stone tablets. God himself renews the covenant, writing his law all over again. In the end, mercy really does triumph over judgment. Now, for many readers, especially those coming from a Christian perspective, this whole story points to a powerful parallel. In this view, Moses is a picture, a type of a mediator. He pleads for the people, and he renews a covenant written on stone. The New Testament then presents Jesus as the perfect mediator, one who doesn't just plead for forgiveness, but actually secures it forever, establishing a new covenant that's not on stone, but written on human hearts. And that brings the core warning of this ancient story right into our lives right now. The golden calf is a timeless symbol for the danger of putting anything, literally anything, in God's place. And it forces us to ask ourselves, what are the idols of our own time? What are the things, maybe money or success or technology or even an ideology, that we craft and celebrate, the things that demand our ultimate allegiance? What golden calves are demanding our worship today? It's something to think about.